What's up, wall fans, common sensors, and of course podcast consumers? Welcome to another very exciting video feed for Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. We got a lot of stuff to get into today, and honestly, I don't know what is going on with the weather here in Southern California, but it feels like Florida. It's warm outside and it's humid. Supposedly crazy weather going on around the area, all kinds of good stuff. So I'm in here like sweating my butt off. But all that being said, we got a real good episode for you today, so let's get right into episode 106.
Who want to three, go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall. Go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall.
All right, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers. Welcome to another very, very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And this is episode 106. That's right, episode 106 on this fine Sunday in May. Now, before we get into the usual common sense that we get into on a weekly basis, we always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us before episodes, after episodes, during episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that in multiple locations. One of those would be facebook.com/go-tell-it-to-the-wall. That's right, facebook.com/go-tell-it-to-the-wall. Also, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/go-tell-it-to-the-wall, or at go-tell-it-to-the-wall. That's right, YouTube's using the little ats now. I think eventually everything's just going to be an at. Like your house address is going to be an at. Nonetheless. And also my own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean. Had some new content go up there this past week as well, so make sure if you're an Instagram user, you're following on there. As always, it's not completely Go Tell It to the Wall content, but it is great content if you're an Instagram user, so go ahead and give us a follow over there. And of course, all inclusive of those things I just mentioned would be our official website, which is SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's right, SeanO'RourkeLive.com, your one-stop shop for anything and everything that is Common Sense Sundays, Go Tell It to the Wall, Go Tell It to the Brewery, Mental Health Mondays, parenting, all that good stuff. And also some exclusive content that you're not going to find on any of those other platforms, so make sure you bookmark that. In addition to all those things I just mentioned, that's right, we also have our Patreon campaign right there on SeanO'RourkeLive.com. If you want to support us through Patreon, please feel free to do so through that link. And if you don't want to get involved with Patreon, but you want to support us a little bit financially, you can do so through our merch website, which links directly from SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Go ahead and pick yourself up some Common Sense merch. All right, before we get into our digital trends, quick announcement, this is going to be our last episode of May. That's right, there will be no episode next weekend. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get into entertainment news, but I will be heading out to Vegas as of Friday, and I will be there until, oh my gosh, Tuesday morning. I can't even remember. I got to really look at my calendar and make sure, but this is that gauntlet that I've talked about a couple times over the past month or two, where it's like something like 9 straight days of shows, 9 or 10, like so many, and starting with Punk Rock Bowling there in Vegas. And for those of you that are watching on the video feed, yes, you're not hallucinating. My hair is, in fact, blonde right now. That's right, it is blonde. For those of you not on the video feed, you're not seeing it, but you can go and see the video feed on Facebook or on YouTube. But don't worry, it will be purple in the next couple of days. This is just the process of recoloring my hair. I bleached it on Friday, and you got to kind of let it sit for a couple days so it doesn't get all fried out and everything, especially with going into some 95-degree weather. Less than a week from now, I'm going to go ahead and do my best to keep the hair healthy because it should be much longer right now, but due to frying it out a little over a year ago, it hasn't been growing properly, so I'm doing my best. I mean, the best would be to go to a professional, but I did not do that and just decided to bleach it out myself, but it will be purple again in the next day or two. So don't worry about that. It's still going to be purple haired. If you go back like 2 years ago or something, there actually is an episode where I bleached blonde hair for one episode, and that was in between bleaching it and actually coloring it purple. So don't adjust your monitors. It is, in fact, blonde. It's funny, I'm looking in my video monitor here, and it's basically blending in with the white closet door that's behind me. You can't even fully see my hair. That's how blonde it is right now. All right, let's get into some digital trends from the past week or so. Hashtag boycott Disney. This one just popped up, and it's funny because we've seen this hashtag pop up a lot of times. It's been people in Florida who are upset with Disney and they're big Ron DeSantis fans. This time around, it doesn't have to do with Disney World or with the whole Florida feud, although we are going to talk a little bit about that as we get into common sense and entertainment news. This one actually is because people are upset over the new Little Mermaid movie. And not just, we did, yes, everybody was upset about the Little Mermaid movie when they announced the casting, and everyone was like, Little Mermaid is white, and everyone pointed out, well, actually, the original Little Mermaid was green, so if you want accuracy, you're completely off the rails there anyway. But what happened is people, and I don't even think it's fully released in theaters, but people have, obviously, critics and such have been in to see it, and everyone's wants this boycott. Not everyone, clearly not everyone, not us here at Go Tell It to the Wall. In fact, I may end up going to see this movie because of it. But apparently there's a line in the movie involving the name Catherine. And for those of you not familiar with The Little Mermaid, the original animated one, she loses her voice in order to get up onto land and have legs and such, so she can't talk. And apparently there is a scene, and this isn't even me really spoiling anything, but there is a scene that where Prince Eric is asking her name, and he gives out a couple names, and apparently she shakes her head no, and kind of makes a funny face when he says, is it Catherine? So people have now run with this, because this is a stupid feud that we have to live with in our lives, even if you try to avoid it, and said that Disney is taking a shot at Princess Catherine, who is the wife of Prince, which one is that? Not Harry, the other one. The older one, which here's the thing. You go to click on this hashtag, and you're just going to see a bunch of people getting upset and talking about how elegant Princess Catherine is. Kate, I believe they call her, and all this other stuff in there. Freaking out because possibly, we don't even know this for sure, but possibly Disney has taken a swipe at the English monarchy. We have been talking about this for a couple weeks. Fuck the king. Fuck the monarchy, abolish the monarchy. Why are we getting so upset about this? And then, of course, they bring up this feud with Meghan Markle and Harry, and it's like, really? Can we all just calm the hell down? This has nothing to do with anybody. It's rich white people arguing, and then you have a bunch of middle-class people who are sitting there defending, she is so elegant and all this, and it's like, who cares? It's a fucking monarchy. We're really, and this is a lot of people in the U.S. that are tweeting out these things and sharing these things and saying, how dare Disney disparage the name of Princess Catherine? Really? You're going to defend that? Of all the hills to die on, that's one of them? Give me a goddamn break. So we're not going to be boycotting Disney, and now because of that, maybe I'll go see the damn thing in the theater. I'm the worst film school graduate on the face of the earth. I don't go to see a lot of movies in the theater. I prefer the comfort of my own home. I wait until they come out on DVD or streaming or any of those, whatever the platform might be, and I prefer watching it there. I pay a lot less for drinks in my own home and popcorn and snacks and such, and my couch tends to be a lot more comfortable than theater seats. But maybe we'll take a Go Tell It to the Wall movie day and go support the new Little Mermaid movie. All right, we're going to bring up another instance of this. I feel like we had a little string of them there for a while, and now yet another one has come up. There's a high school teacher in California who was recently arrested for statutory rape. And I bring this up because it's not so much that the case itself is trending, but this happens every single time when it involves a female teacher and a male student. She was arrested, she's 38, I believe was her age, for sleeping with a 16-year-old student. And what you have is all of these idiots that go on there and comment and say, where was this teacher when I was in high school? Or, man, that guy shouldn't have said anything, and all this other stuff, and defending the teacher. So once again, I'm going to bring it up because it's trending on digital platforms right now. Gender is not a factor here. It is statutory rape. It's disgusting. And we can't sit here just because it's a female and think differently, because those same people that are sitting there saying, oh, where was this teacher when I was in high school, probably have daughters, and if it was a male teacher in trouble for sleeping with a female student, they would be singing a different tune. So again, if you see this, call it out, because the replies are just utterly disgusting. It's a double standard, and it's either way, it's not right. It's not moral. It's disgusting. We don't need 38-year-old teachers taking advantage of their students. And the funny thing is, I guarantee a lot of these, and it's a bunch of males in the replies, are probably the same ones that are out there spewing ignorant shit about grooming. And it's like, they hate drag queens, but they love a teacher who sleeps with her students. The hypocrisy is strong with that crowd. I gotta say that's a certainty. So watch out for this stuff and don't get wrapped up in this double standard. And it's every single time I see it, and it's been like that since pre-internet. We had a very high profile case back in the 90s where the teacher ended up getting pregnant. It was a whole thing, and guys, everyone's like, oh, why don't we have teachers like this? Like, no, that's not how these things work. You can't apply a double standard just because of gender. All right, moving along. Jack Nicholson was trending yesterday, and it's funny. This happens all the time. You see a celebrity trending on social platforms, and you're like, oh, shit. Who died? Or did they die? Are they still with us? Well, that was my first thought, of course. Then I remembered there was a Laker game happening in Los Angeles yesterday. So sure enough, when you click on it, it's actually pictures of Jack Nicholson courtside at the Laker game. And there's twofold to this. A lot of people were it was great because ABC, the network, was carrying the game. And they often do this, especially in Los Angeles and New York, where there is a lot of, celebs and movie stars and high-profile athletes and stuff. They'll go through and look at the stars that are out at the game tonight, and they first and last name for everyone. And when they came to Jack Nicholson, apparently it just said Jack. And it's like, yeah, that guy probably deserves the first name treatment. But the other side of it is everyone's criticizing his picture. Not everyone, because a lot of people were defending him. He's clearly just embraced his age and his I don't give a fuckness about what's going on in life. He's kind of like, I'm Jack Nicholson. Hair's a little all over the place, and he's just kind of chilling there. And people are like, oh, wow, Jack, look, why doesn't he blah, blah? And it's like, you know what? That guy has worked hard enough and earned enough money throughout his career that he doesn't really need his appearance criticized. Now, fortunately, I saw a lot of people being like, yo, let him do what he wants. It's Jack Nicholson, which I tend to agree with. If I had all that money and all that fame, I wouldn't care what other people are thinking of me. Obviously to an extent. There's still like a side of everybody that's like, I don't want to let the guy live his life. And in fact, it's funny because he was trending like a month or two ago because he was standing on a balcony of probably a penthouse of his or something, and people were like, oh, look how terrible Jack Nicholson looks. And then there was the other side, and I was on the other side going like, maybe he just woke up. I don't look that good when I just wake up, and I'm nowhere near the age of Jack Nicholson, so leave the man alone. But that's why he was trending on the social platforms yesterday and probably going into today. I encourage you to go check out the picture because he's just living his life sitting courtside at the Laker game. On another note, and this is going to get tangented for a sec, I was talking about this with my father-in-law recently because he was like, oh, what do you think those courtside seats? I always look at these courtside seats and I'm like, I don't want to sit there. I know you're like, cool, let's be close to the players and everything. If you've ever been to an arena with luxury boxes, and if you haven't and you get the chance, seize that opportunity. That is the way to watch a basketball game. You got monitors in the suite, you got food, you got drinks, and then they have seats right at the front of the suite at every single one I've been to. I've been to a bunch of them in Staples Center, and I can't think of any others off the top of my head. But they usually have seats, and you can sit there and you watch the game. You're not super far away, and you get a good view of the game. Personally, if I was spending money on tickets, I'd get a suite. None of this courtside seat stuff. But to each their own. If you want to be sweated on and run into by giant professional basketball players, that's your prerogative. Just not really for me. All right, we got some more Target videos and outrage. Of course, this happens on a yearly basis. We see this from bigoted people who go into Target around May because it's leading into June, which is LGBTQ Pride Month. And Target is a big supporter of Pride Month, and therefore they put out a lot of products, shirts with rainbows and stuff like that. So, of course, now we're getting the bigoted videos that pop up everywhere. And one in particular I saw the other day was this woman who she's walking around and she's like picking up rainbow stuff. What is this? This is crazy. We're teaching our kids to be gay and all this, the typical talking points from that certain side of people that like to do these things. But the one that really got me is she started talking to the manager and said, where is the straight pride merchandise? Where can I find the straight pride clothing and t-shirts? And it's like, bitch, the rest of the store is straight pride. That would be the rest of the store, not this little small section of some rainbow stuff. And it blows my mind that people get so offended over some rainbows. And they're grooming. Target is trying to turn our... No, they're not. They're simply showing their support for a marginalized group of people who are still to this day fighting for equal rights and having rights taken away in many states across this country. So give me a break with that fake pearl clutching and hatred and grooming and everything else. And actually, this is going to take me tangented for another second here. These same people that say this, they always like, it's a choice. But if you step back and think about it, why do you think it's a choice? Do you think that you had a choice to be gay or straight? That's what always blows my mind. I sit here and I go, I've just never had an inkling to be straight. Never had an inkling to be gay myself. So it blows my mind that people can sit there and think it's a choice when clearly there are people out there who are part of the LGBTQ community and it's not a choice of theirs. It is simply who they are. And it's funny because I'm watching that Lego show, and I think it's an older special because it was like a Christmas. I definitely know it's an older special. And apologies for not remembering the guy's name, but there's a comedian. He's very short in stature, and his name is Leslie, and I cannot remember his last name. He actually passed away not too long ago. And he's a gay man. He's openly gay. And he had talked in one of these episodes that I'm watching with my wife. It's like this Christmas special. So again, it's probably it's on Hulu, and we're just watching something to watch something. And he talks about growing up in the woods in Tennessee, like true country boy. Yet he still turned out to be gay. So you can't sit here and say that grooming and clothing and all that kind of stuff is turning children gay. It simply is not. And I'll remind everyone of a story I believe I've told on this podcast previously, probably a couple years ago. One of my favorite toys when I was a kid I had a Rainbow Bright. This was literally a rainbow female doll. And this was the 80s. Nobody really cared. It wasn't a thing. So it goes to show you how we have progressed in some ways, but we have so badly regressed in many other ways. Because now, there would be a whole group of people outraged that a young boy is carrying around a rainbow-colored female doll. It wasn't a big deal in the 80s. When did we go so far off the rails that people are freaking out about toys and T-shirts and rainbows? And here's the most important thing. I've said this so many times when this fake outrage comes up. You don't have to buy it for your fucking kids. Don't buy it. If you think Target is trying to groom people, don't go shop there. I don't think Target is going to be super offended or worried about their bottom line because some assholes that think rainbows are offensive are not going to shop at their store. So keep it up. Pride Month ain't going anywhere. And as much as we have regressed, we have plenty of loud people that are fighting for inclusivity and LGBTQ rights, among many other things in this country and around the world. All right, there's a video that is trending right now on the social platforms, and it actually features a manager of a Dollar General, which is a very popular. I don't think we really have them in California. I've seen them. Saw them a ton on our road trip a couple years ago, and I saw a few of them out in Florida. I think it's more of a southern chain. And not to speak bad about Dollar General itself. I don't know much about the store. But this video features a Dollar General manager ramming her car into a man on a bicycle who had allegedly shoplifted from the Dollar General store. I don't know a lot about Dollar General, but I am imagining it is close to a 99-cent store where things are very inexpensive. He's carrying a plastic bag of products. So what are we talking about? $15 worth? She ran into him with her car. Saw him shoplift, jumped in her car, chased him while he's riding a bike, and literally ran into him. So, attempted manslaughter over what, $15 worth of merchandise? And we've talked about this before. I worked in retail for a very large chain in a large mall. You are instructed not to chase shoplifters. And this is taking it to a whole nother level. So I don't care how frustrated you are with shoplifters. You work at a fucking Dollar General. It's not worth killing a man over shoplifting a few products. Give me a goddamned break. And the other irritating thing was people are actually praising her. I saw people commenting and saying, good for her. It's like, good for her? She almost killed a guy. That's the state of affairs that we are in here in the United States of America. It's really, really discouraging. Is that worth it? No. We live in a country where you can run over shoplifters. You can choke and kill people just for being houseless on a subway. Give me a break. We all need to do better. And speaking of doing better, there is a new TikTok trend. You know, we love these TikTok trends, and apparently this one involves walking into someone's home. Not a friend's house. No, a completely random stranger's house. And there's a video that was circulating interestingly, and it's funny because I'm going, how are they getting away with this? And somebody that had shared the video, I saw posted on like Twitter or one of those platforms, had said, I didn't understand how this was possible until I heard accents. So I believe this video did not take place in the United States of America because, as we have talked about recently, kids can't even ring doorbells here in the United States without fear of being shot. I will say, do not do this. There's a video of this guy doing it. He walks into a house and just sits down on the couch, and the owner of the house is like, what are you doing here? You know? Here's the thing. Well, I sit here and I say, you should be able to ring a doorbell. You should be it should be okay to accidentally touch a car that you thought was yours without being shot. However, even me can sit here and say, you know what? If somebody comes walking into your home and sits on your couch, that's very different. I'm not saying anyone should be shot for that, but I am saying if somebody did that in my house, especially considering I have a child in my home, they are probably not leaving unscathed. Not going to kill anybody, but they're not leaving unscathed. So don't do this. And I would sit here and say, TikTok, it's TikTok, it's TikTok. No, it's just these stupid challenges where common sense needs to prevail and tell you that you shouldn't just be walking into random people's homes. That's just common sense. All right, let's get into some mental health here. It is still May. This will be our last episode of May, as I mentioned. So it is still Mental Health Awareness Month, again with the caveat, many of us that deal with mental health problems and mental illness, it is a 365-day-a-year struggle. It is not just 1 month, as much as I do appreciate the extra visibility given to mental health awareness during May. Please make sure you are also checking on your friends and family throughout the year, because it doesn't go away once May is over. But I do want to talk about more and more people speaking out, because I think I mentioned this last week and how big of an influence and how big of an impact that can have. And in fact, during the game yesterday, I was watching the Lakers-Nuggets game. Lakers fans not too happy here in Los Angeles at the moment, but I'm not going to get tangented on sports stuff right now. But the point is, like I said, more athletes and celebs sharing their stories, and the NBA has been pushing it. And in fact, one of the players for the Los Angeles Lakers, Rui Hachimura, who is actually a Japanese-born player, now plays for the Lakers. When he was drafted a few years ago for his rookie season, which is rookie, for those of you who don't know, it's your first season playing a professional sport. They call it you're a rookie. You know, everybody probably knows that term, but when it comes to sports, that's how it's used. It's your first year, you know. Shout out to a great 90s movie, The Rookie. Anyway, so they were talking about Rui Hachimura, who missed 39 games his first season for mental illness reasons. He had to kind of get his head, and I don't know the specifics of what he was dealing with. However, he did miss those games. And interestingly, when it comes to these professional leagues, which are obviously very cutthroat when it comes to their bottom line, a lot of times they are supportive of players. And we know pretty much for certain that Rui Hachimura was still making his salary while away from the team and dealing with these mental health issues. The important thing is when these come up, and this is what I want to kind of build on from last week. And before I get into that, noting that now Rui Hachimura is a very productive player. He's been very integral to the Lakers' late season success. I'm not going to get into the whole semantics of how the Lakers kind of sucked and then got a little better and then somehow snuck their way into the Western Conference Finals. But he's become a very productive player. But it brings up the money equals happiness myth. I see people when that is the opposite side of celebs and professional athletes speaking out on this. A lot of times we have people that say, well, I saw this pop up recently this month because celebs have been talking about it, and they say, well, if I had all that money as a professional athlete or a movie star, I wouldn't have mental health problems. I would be happy. Well, and here's the thing. That is an absolute myth. It doesn't matter what pay bracket you're in, what tax bracket you're in, how much money you make, how successful you are. Anybody can deal with mental illness struggles or mental health problems. Even the wealthiest and most successful. It's simple as that. And I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of times when I have dealt with more serious breakdowns throughout my struggles, a lot of times they have been at times in my life when I was doing quite well, making a good amount of money, successful in the professional world, whatever it may be, and those breakdowns still tend to sneak their way in. And a big part of that, which I found years ago when I was having a really bad break in my early 20s, was having a really bad breakdown and was just useless for a couple weeks and had to get some serious help at that time. It can almost make it worse when you're that successful, because when you have certain mental illnesses or mental health problems, you can tend to blame things on other problems. Like, let's say you're having money issues. All of your energy is going toward those money issues when, in fact, it is a mental illness or a mental health problem that is pushing the stress about that. So when you take away those things that you can blame stress and anxiety on, you're only left with the stress and anxiety. So keep that in mind when you see somebody who has a lot of money, a lot of success, but still deals with mental illness or mental health problems, because it doesn't make anybody exempt from that at all. And most importantly, don't let others control the narrative. I always say this. We talk about it when mental illness comes up over mass shootings and all kinds of other things. Don't let others control the narrative, especially those that have zero experience with it. Because it doesn't matter where you are in life, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how great your family is, you can still struggle with a mental illness. And that's important to keep in mind. And hopefully that's helping some of you out there who have great success and have still struggle with those things. That you're not the only one. Like I said, it's happened to me many times throughout my life, and it often, when I have my biggest breakdowns, again, have been when I'm quite successful and quite stable, as opposed to working my way through film school and not having a lot of money and worrying about paying rent and stuff like that. Those can be factors, but just because you're not dealing with those factors doesn't mean it's impossible for you to have mental health problems or any kind of breakdown or need to seek out help, professional help or peer help, or like the peer groups we've talked about, where you can get help with your mental health issues and get advice and all kinds of other things. And as always, you can feel free to email me through the website. Any messages that come through the website go directly to me. If you can do it through Facebook as well, just know that we have 2 other moderators who are also very compassionate, but we'll make sure if they see it first, we'll make sure it gets to me. And as much as I'm not an expert, I can simply give you a little bit of advice or point you in the right direction based on my own previous and current experiences. All right, let's talk about a little positive news here before we get into parenting. This is a funky one, and I want to call it positive news because I was well aware. Knowing a lot of people at Disney, I was well aware of the backlash that was happening a couple years ago when this was announced. Disney has backtracked now on their plan to move about 2,000 cast members. That's what Disney calls all of their employees, cast members from Southern California out to Florida. They were going to build a new facility. They were not only going to move 2,000 people from Southern California out there, but they were going to hire 2,000 new people in Florida, bringing additional jobs to Florida. Now, that side is not positive, obviously, because as much as I say Florida is a fucking hellscape and it's ridiculous, there are plenty of great people that do live in Florida, and it's unfortunate that this had to be taken away from them. The positive side of it for me is they have announced this in response to the whole DeSantis feud. They have said, no, you're stripping away rights, you're taking away books, you're feuding with our company over things happening within the state, so we are not going to bring all of this extra stuff in to improve the economy within the state of Florida. And the good thing, like I said, is I know some cast members. In fact, I knew some cast. The unfortunate side of this is I actually knew some cast members who left Disney because they said, I am not going to move to Florida, and went and moved on to jobs at other companies. So this is kind of a funky positive news. The reason I bring it up in positive news is it's a big blow to that gas bag Ron DeSantis. And hopefully it's going to, I would say hopefully it's going to make him come to his senses. I don't think he has any senses to come to, but hopefully he is seeing the end of fuck around and find out, and he is now finding out exactly. But despite that, I do feel bad for the loss of jobs for people in Florida who are not these assholes that are trying to strip away rights and take away books from kids and everything else. And I mean, I literally know people that live in Florida that are part of the LGBTQ community. So there are plenty of good people in Florida. It's just unfortunate what's happening down there. And good on Disney for making a stand on this and actually backtracking on moving all that stuff out there. Now, of course, Disney's got, I'm not going to sit here and praise Disney too much, especially considering Bob Iger was one of the celebrities that was shown at the Laker game last night. And it's like, you know what, Bob? Maybe don't go and do the whole celebrity thing right now while the Writers Guild of America is on strike and dealing with studios such as Disney. Not a good look, Bob, but, you know, to each his own. All right, some parenting. This is interesting to me, and it's funny because we just talked about this last week, and I'd kind of seen it building, and then over the past week or so, it really has gotten to a point. My kid has somehow become obsessed with malls, like shopping malls. And it's funny because we don't go a lot. Before COVID hit, she'd been a few times. We'd go out Mother's Day shopping together when she was very little. You know, hey, what do you think of this? And, you know, maybe we'd go to the mall to pick up a couple things. Especially I like the mall because there's a van store there. I can always be occupied by a van store for a little while. And, of course, I grew up, like I said, when we were talking about the whole pickleball court thing, I grew up going to malls. Malls were a place to hang out. And lately my kid has been like, can we go to the mall? In fact, my wife took my kid to the mall today just to go hang out. And she's got a piggy bank and she put some of the money in she's got a little purse thing. And she's like, let's go to the mall. And it's not just to shop, and depending on where you live, like malls around here, they have rides and, little stuff like that. And I think on top of that, just seeing all the different stuff around, and I think this is true for all kids. My kid, when she was very little, loved going to the grocery store because she was just enamored with the lights and all the colors and everything else when she was very young. So it's interesting to see if malls are going to kind of make a comeback with a new generation. I see the appeal in malls, but that is just because of the generation I am from. And then we had this kind of generation in between that was just like, why go to a store? Just do everything online. But maybe the next generation is going to be like, you know what, this is a nice, fun thing to do and a place to hang out and to actually see things in person and not just on a screen. Because let me tell you, sometimes you order something and you think you're getting the right size, but it's not the right size. And maybe it's a kid's size or maybe it's Asian sizing. I mean, we've all seen that when you get something from China and you're like, I ordered a large, but it's like a China sizing large and it's basically a small. It's like, that's not going to do me any good. So you can actually see these things. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. But I've got a kid who now very much enjoys malls. And fortunately for her, in Los Angeles, we have these nice malls. Even if you don't live here, you probably heard about the Grove. It's this very big mall that you catch celebrities shopping around there and everything. It's got all the fancy stores and stuff. All right. Struggle that I've been going through lately, and it really came to a head the past couple days, is the balance of cleaning and letting kids play. Now, in my house, it's basically with the exception of this room that I'm sitting in that is my studio and maybe like a small portion of mine and my wife's bedroom, the rest of the house is basically a kid zone. You might find a toy anywhere. In fact, sometimes there's even a toy in the studio. It just tend to rein it in when it comes to the studio. But it can be extremely frustrating at times. And I know this is exacerbated by my OCD, and it makes the balance even more difficult for me on a personal level because I tend to get claustrophobic, and part of my obsessive compulsive disorder is organizing and neatness, and I'm constantly cleaning up after my kid, and it's really come to a point where I've had to stop myself lately because she really is just playing. But the thing is, we've all seen that Ben Affleck meme. It's like when you just cleaned up and you hear the toy box dump out. It's like, and it's literally that happened to me recently. I had just cleaned up and then I'm in the kitchen and I come back to the living room and I go, cool, she's dumping out the thing I just spent an hour cleaning up like 30 minutes ago. But at the same time, she's just trying to play. And kids have toys. So I don't really know what that balance is, but it has been an absolute challenge for me. And if you're a parent out there who's dealing with this, know that you are not alone. It is happening constantly in the O'Rourke house, like on a daily basis. And I am on a daily basis like almost just behind my child cleaning up. But then there's also the balance of she'll build a racetrack. That's one of the things right now that's just in my living room is a racetrack that she has built. She goes back and plays with it. And it's like, yeah, this is a huge mess. I'm constantly trying to get work done in my living room because my wife takes over this studio a lot of times during the week if she's working from home. And so it's quite the challenge, but at the same time, I have to sit there and say, you know what? She wants to play with this. She's going to come back to and play with this. So I have to kind of work around that as well. So you're not alone if that's something you're dealing with right now. Girl Scouts. I always joke that I spent my youth, and still do now. In fact, I've got to update my vest for next weekend, ironing and sewing patches onto vests and jackets, and it's gotten to a point with my kid's Girl Scout vest. She's going to start running out of room here, and she's still got another year with this particular vest before she gets another vest that she'll then start to fill up with patches. And it comes in waves, and she had a Girl Scout meeting recently, and my wife comes home from picking her up, and she gives me a stack of patches. And she goes, well, you got to update the vest. And I'm just like, oh, my God, because I have all the time in the world to do that. I don't mind doing it, but it's always kind of crazy with the amount of ironing and fabric gluing and sewing that has to be done with this thing. All very well worth it. And if you have kids and they show any kind of interest in, and I knew a little bit about Boy Scouts because I had friends in it when I was a kid, but I can tell you from a parent standpoint, my kid absolutely loves Girl Scouts. So if your kid has any kind of interest in that, definitely get them involved. It's very fulfilling, and she has nothing but fun with the Girl Scout stuff. And then on top of that, learning things, which is great. That's why she's getting all these badges, because her troop is very active in actually doing things to earn all of these different badges, like camping safety and all kinds of other crazy stuff. So highly recommend it, and well worth the enjoyment she gets out of it. And of course, I think I said at the top of the episode, maybe it was just the video feed. The weather here in Los Angeles, and I'm looking outside, very, very interesting right now. It feels like Florida out there. It's like, it's funny, I can say it's 74 degrees. I'm always like, what's the temperature? And we live in a world now where I just need to look at this monitor in front of me, and it's 74 degrees outside and sunny. But as I look outside, it's not really sunny. It's a little cloudy, and we're getting this weird humidity. And I've said it on this podcast before, and that's why I'm sweating extra today. Is I don't do well in the humidity. I start to melt. There's the air conditioner kicking on. Love it. We finally hit that point in Southern California where, at least in Los Angeles area, where it's been air conditioner time. Not crazy. Like it's not, we will hit a point where it's 95 degrees. Not days at a time, but we'll get a day here and there where it's 95 to 100 degrees, and yes, that's going to be miserable. But we don't usually deal with the humidity, which is what's killing me right now. But it is pool time very soon, and I've decided we are upgrading the pool this year. And as a recommendation to any parents out there, if you have the room to get one of those, like an Intex, I have found is the brand that we've used a lot. We got 2 years out of a pool and still have the whole pump system. So now I'm just buying a slightly bigger, slightly nicer pool frame for the summer. But it is one of the easiest things. It's a small investment, and yeah, you can get those little like tiny plastic pools, but you spend $100 to $150 and you get a pool that's a couple feet deep, 8 to 12 feet wide in diameter, and they have, with a pump system, so it stays fairly clean. You don't necessarily have to chlorinate it. I use, I'm blanking on what they're called. They use I think bromide or something. So it's a little gentler than chlorine, but it keeps it perfectly clean, and you cover that thing, and it's well worth the investment as we get into the warmer months here. Keep your kids occupied. Now, obviously, you need to watch your kids in the pool, but it is such an easy thing, especially, like I said, as the weather gets warmer, to say, oh, you're hot? Let's go jump in the pool. It'll cool you off. And give them a popsicle. They get in the pool, and they just love it. Let them float in a little inner tube. It's one of the easiest things to do, simple investment, and you have the space. If you have the space for it, highly, highly recommend picking one of those up. Of course, unless, of course, you have like an in-ground pool. Then just use your pool. Utilize it. Don't and know that it's going to go up and down with kids, because even my kid, who's still very young, each year she's like, pool, and then gets a little tired of it, and then she's back to the pool and gets a little tired of it. I was one of those kids, because I grew up with a pool at most houses we lived in, that I was like, pool. Friends would come over. Let's go swimming. They didn't have pools, and it's like, okay, we'll go swimming. But then, even, at all ages, even a teenager, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go jump in the pool now. So keep that in mind for your kids as we approach the warm summer months, depending where you live, because maybe it doesn't get very warm. But I saw some forecast come across like on one of my feeds, and it was like, how hot is it going to be this summer? And it was basically like really fucking hot. And it was the whole United States of America, and parts of it were hotter than others, obviously. You go to Arizona and it's going to be hot as hell. We don't quite get that kind of heat here, or the heat that I'm going to be dealing with in less than a week there in Las Vegas, where I'm told it's supposed to be 95 degrees all weekend during the day. So that'll be fun. But it's going to be hot pretty much no matter where you are here in the United States of America. All right, let's talk some common sense here. Good old Marge, MTG. She's been when is she not in the news, of course, but she's been in the news for her especially hypocritical speech lately. She apparently got into it with another politician on the steps of the Capitol, which I don't remember this from when I was younger, but apparently this is a thing we do. Politicians, arguing with each other on the steps of Capitol Hill. But nonetheless, she then came out afterward because this particular politician had called her a white supremacist. She came out at a press conference shortly after that and said, and I'm not even kidding about this if you haven't seen it yet, calling someone a white supremacist is the same as calling someone the N-word. Okay, let's unpack this for a sec there, Marge. The fact that you can say white supremacist and you can't say the actual other word should go to show you that they are not synonymous. On top of that, the N-word is a phrase used for somebody who doesn't have a choice about the color of their skin, whereas you, Marge, have a choice to not be a white supremacist. If you are offended by it, you need to ask yourself why you are offended by being called a white supremacist, and claimed she was threatened, which is also hilarious to me, because if we go back and look at videos of how she was stalking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, how she was stalking the activist David Hogg, who was in the Capitol, literally, like, chasing after. And it's like, really, you felt threatened because you've never threatened anyone else, let alone any of the videos and other things that she has posted and done. And then the hypocrisy, just to really fully push it off the charts, she posted a video recently, like very recently, after this whole incident, and people zoomed in on the video, found that she had a cooler with the Confederate flag on it. So Marge, if you're not a white supremacist, why are you so offended by being called one? And why do you have a racist symbol? And I think this was in like her home gym or her garage or something. Why do you own this? And why is it in your home if you're not a white supremacist? It's amazing to me that this woman has been elected multiple times. All right, we had this one really pissed me off, and I was kind of following it for a couple days, and the graduation was today, and it seems like she ended up missing the graduation. We had a high school student in Mississippi who is a trans female, and according to whatever kind of dress code there was, the school district said that she had to wear male clothes, so had to wear pants and dress shoes and a bow tie or tie, as opposed to a dress and high heels. Now, of course, this is discrimination against trans people. That's obvious at its very core. And she tried to appeal it. It was struck down, shockingly, by a Trump-appointed judge there in Mississippi, forcing her to wear male clothes. The really ridiculous part about this, I mean, it's unfair to begin with. The really ridiculous part about this, it's for graduation. Have you ever seen, even if you haven't been to one in person, have you ever seen a graduation from high school or college? Everyone wears caps and gowns. Why are we so, first of all, why are we so concerned with what people wear? Second of all, it's clearly discrimination. And third of all, it's covered by a fucking gown. We're not even seeing this shit. And it blows my mind, because even if it wasn't discrimination against trans people, let's say there was a male who identifies as male who wanted to wear high heels to his graduation. Who the fuck cares? We get so caught up in these stupid dress codes and stupid rules, and we make people uncomfortable. And from what I understand, because this just happened today, and I believe if I saw it incorrectly, somebody can correct me. I believe she ended up missing her graduation, which is absolutely unfair. You work so hard for 4 years to graduate from high school, and nobody should be excluded from that, with obvious exceptions. You know, there's been kids who have done, crimes or terrible pranks, and then they're not allowed to walk graduation. That I understand. This poor trans girl in Mississippi, this trans young lady, did nothing wrong. Nothing. Just wanted to be herself. Do better, Mississippi. Spent a night in Mississippi on a road trip. Wouldn't recommend it. No offense to, I'm sure there's some fine people in Mississippi, but wouldn't recommend it. All right. Countries have issued a travel advisory for. I shouldn't laugh, but it's like, can we just look in the mirror as a country here in the United States of America? Multiple countries have issued travel warnings for the United States of America, telling their citizens they should not travel to the United States of America. And do you know why? It's because we have an epidemic of mass shootings in this country. So we literally have other countries looking at the United States of America and saying, you shouldn't go there because there's a good chance you will be caught in a mass shooting. We're a fucking laughingstock, and we do nothing about it. We're now known as a dangerous country. So anyone out there who was a supporter of the Orange Menace when he was sitting there saying all these shithole countries and everything else and secure the border and we have criminals coming across from no. The calls are coming from in the house. In the United States of America, we are the dangerous country. Don't try to twist that. It's multiple countries issuing travel advisories. Again, we need to do better in this country. Disgusts me. And speaking of travel warnings, the NAACP has issued a travel warning, not for the United States of America. Obviously, it's a U.S.-based organization. They have issued a travel warning for the state of Florida. They're saying that people of color should not travel to the state of Florida because of the laws being enacted and the way that they are treated within the state of Florida, and that they also either quoted or had mentioned, in addition to people of color being discriminated against, the fact that the state of Florida, the state itself, and again, I'm not saying every resident of Florida, but the state itself discriminates against the LGBTQ community as well. So yeah, Florida, be proud of yourself. No one should go to Florida. I know I was there a couple weeks ago. You know, my wife's grandmother had to turn 100 to get me to go into the state of Florida again, and I hope that I never have to go back again. Maybe if I can fly directly into Orlando and go to like some of the theme parks and then get the hell out of there. But I always, you know, I'm very loud. I shouldn't be brought into states like Florida where saying the wrong thing can actually get you arrested, and not even threats or anything, just saying Ron DeSantis is a lying gas bag. I would be worried about getting arrested if I said that in Florida, in the state of Florida. So thank you, NAACP, for making a stand on this, because Jesus. And speaking of getting things twisted, this one got me last night. And this is literally happening in my community. And if you live in the Los Angeles area, you might have seen the multiple news stories on this last night. And I'm going to start from the beginning. So my wife and I went out to run a couple errands yesterday. And I'm looking around, and there's a main drag here that we live not far from, and there's a lot of restaurants and everything else. And I'm looking around, and I'm going, oh. And I'm seeing a lot of classic cars. In fact, we have a lot of classic car cruises and lowrider cruises and hot rod cruises that happen down the boulevard. They're actually really cool. I'm looking around, I'm going, oh, maybe, you know, they must be. And my wife's like, is it art walks? And I was, no, that was last Saturday. We have an art walk down the boulevard once a month. And I was like, oh, something must be going on. So we come home from those errands, and I go out myself to run a couple more errands, and suddenly I'm seeing police officers everywhere. Just literally everywhere. In fact, I was thinking to myself, like, man, if you live in a neighboring town right now, and I'm not endorsing doing crimes, but this would probably be the time to get away with it, because it seems like every officer from the area is right here in my neighborhood. Blocking streets, sitting at intersections. In fact, I had one of them stopped right at a stop sign near at one of the turns by my house going onto the main drag, and I'm like, sir, you're making it very difficult for me to just make a right turn here, but you're an officer, so I guess I got to deal with this. And saw multiple news vans and so many motorcycle officers out there. Well, apparently what happened was they had heard about this, and it was a lowrider cruise. Lowriders are these classic cars that they ride lower. I'm not a car person. I don't know a lot about them. I do think they're awesome. In fact, when I went out to run these errands, I'm seeing these lowriders, and I'm like, cool. I'm at a stoplight, like, whoa, that's a cool looking car. No, it didn't feel threatened. It didn't feel overcrowded at all. However, I had a motorcycle police officer next to me everywhere I went, right around my neighborhood. I wasn't feeling good about that, because I'm going, what are all you guys doing? And I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, apparently word got out, and what they did was the LAPD came in. They put up no stopping signs for Saturday in order to try and stop this lowrider cruise from happening on the main boulevard here. And there is a side to this, I understand, because nobody would be interviewed from the LAPD, or they put out a statement saying if they want to work with us to get a permit and a location, that's something we can do. I am all in favor of getting permits, despite my film school days where we did a lot of guerrilla filmmaking. So I do see both sides of it. I'm all in favor of that. However, it's a road. It's cars. They're doing nothing but driving down the road, parking on the side of the road. And I've lived in this neighborhood for over 10 years. I see these all the time. They're some of the friendliest people, car people. You see kids going out and seeing these cool cars, everyone hanging out. And on top of that, there was interviews with business owners on the main boulevard who said, we love when this happens. Not only is it cool to see, not only is it part of the culture here of Los Angeles, but it actually brings in more business and foot traffic to our businesses. So what we have here is somebody within this community, sounds about white, complained and got the LAPD involved. When really the majority of the community, myself included, not only do I not have a problem with it, I think it's fucking awesome. We get to see these cool cars, and I'm not even a car person, so I can imagine for a car person who knows about cars and can go, oh, that's a 67, blah, 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 blah. Me, I'm just like, that's really cool. And that one's really cool. And that one's really cool. You know, I'm like a little kid. I'm like, cool, 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 cool. I don't know anything about it, but they're really cool looking. But that's what we do. And like I said, I was more annoyed by the unnecessary police presence in the area. For cars driving down a road. 10 years. I think this stuff's been happening here for more than 10 years. I've been around it for 10 years and never seen a problem. There was one thing. And the funny thing is, because my wife had watched a video and she said, well, they said that there was a shooting at the car cruise one of the times it happened. And it was just her mishearing. And I went back and watched it. I said, no. They said there was a shooting nearby on the night of one of these cruises. Now, Wall fans, common sensors, I live in Highland Park in Los Angeles, California. Shootings occur here on occasion. They still do, despite the fact that the neighborhood has changed drastically in the past 20 years and even the past 10 years since I've lived here. It's an urban area. It's very densely populated, and we do have a couple of gangs that run around the area. We all know this. It's not the lowriders bringing that into the neighborhood. It was probably simply a coincidence because occasionally there are shootings in this neighborhood. And I think I've said this before. I actually trust the gang members running around with guns more than I trust a lot of these gun nuts that I see in pictures and in videos and stuff who are shooting kids for ringing a doorbell. There's no gang members are shooting kids for ringing a doorbell. They're simply not. It's unfortunate to say, but there's honor among criminals. There's not honor among these guys that are carrying around giant machine guns and stuff. So don't get those things mixed up. And I'm hoping the low ride, and I believe it actually did continue, and I was kind of listening. And that's the funny thing, too, is, people are like, oh, the noise and stuff. And my wife and I are sitting in our living room at like 10 p.m. last night, and I'm going, I didn't, the loudest thing I've heard tonight, sitting a couple blocks from the boulevard where they're having this cruise, was the couple of police helicopters flying overhead. So, yeah. All right, let's talk some entertainment news, and we're going to wrap up episode 106. The Disney Galactic Cruiser is closing. That is that super interactive thing. And actually, our on-air producers, Chris and Bridget, went to Florida and did it like a month ago or so, and actually, fortunately, got to experience it. Chris is a gigantic Star Wars fan, knows all of the things about Star Wars, and just an incredibly big fan of the Star Wars franchise. Unfortunately, it is closing. The last reservations are in September. And interestingly, because my wife and a few of my friends work in this industry, they work in themed entertainment, so I tend to get some insider info, and this wasn't even insider, but my wife mentioned to me either yesterday or today, it's completely sold out through September. They immediately, all the spots sold out because they knew it was closing as of like September 20-something or September 30th, like right around the end of September. And was a huge investment by the company, but I think this is one of those return on investment situations where the cost was so astronomical, and clearly the cost to go there was pricey, for consumers going to do it. But it's still sold out. So it's an interesting thing for me. I wonder if it's more of a cost to continue operating. It was just so much. But that's also Disney for you. They sink all this money into something, and then they're like, you know what? We're going to pivot on this. It's like, okay. So it'll be interesting to follow what actually happens there. The Cruel World Festival was happening here and here. I live very close to Pasadena. It was happening at the Rose Bowl last night. And it was funny. And I kind of forgot it was happening, and I didn't put two and two together. I had some friends that were at it, and I saw them sharing, set lists and whatever else, and then I got a breaking news thing, and it was like Rose Bowl evacuated for thunderstorm warning. And then part of me, it was funny because like I said, I'm not far from Pasadena, so I'm sitting on the couch next to my wife last night. This happened last night, and I'm going, "What the heck?" And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm just gonna step outside for a sec." I step outside and I look, and I'm like, it is pretty darn clear. And I'm not to say they were wrong. They were absolutely right. Especially, it's just, to me, it was one of those, like, weather is wild, man. Like, I am not far from it. We can often see fireworks. We can see the flyovers for the Rose Bowl, and still nothing going on. But apparently there was some lightning strikes near there, so they had to evacuate the festival. And as I always say, it's best to be safe. And it sucks for those people that didn't get to see the end. But good on the Cruel World organizers and the Rose Bowl, because what they did was, so Susie, from Susie and the Banshees, but just Susie was playing, as well as Iggy Pop. They did not get to play last night. So what they did was they brought him back today. They gave everybody free parking, and everyone that had tickets for last night's show got to go to the Rose Bowl again and actually see those acts that they missed last night. So not all bad came from it, and like I said, better safe than sorry. But man, that just stinks when you're like, lightning, and that's the thing you don't mess with, And it's funny because we still talk about among my friends and acquaintances talk about the When We Were Young Fest, how it was a 2-day thing, and the wind was so bad that they had to cancel an entire day of it, and people were complaining and everything else, but overall consensus is like, yeah, no, it was windy. Like, people would have been blown away. It was not safe. So always better to be safe and err on the side of caution when it comes to these things. We got some news just this morning. Big news. The Foo Fighters, who unfortunately lost their guitarist, Taylor Hawkins, a year or two ago at one time, and have been without a permanent drummer until this morning. And they announced that their new touring drummer is going to be the one and only legendary Josh Freese. Josh Freese has been a part of many, many successful bands, and he is arguably one of the best drummers on the scene today. And he will be joining the Foo Fighters on their upcoming tours. It did say he's joining them for tours. I imagine he would do some recording. Of course, as I say that, I remember that Dave Grohl is the front man for Foo Fighters and did kind of start his career as a drummer for a quite legendary band. So I don't know if Grohl is just going to lay down the drum tracks on future albums, but Josh Freese is now the touring drummer for the Foo Fighters. Congrats to Josh, and like I said, he is one of the best drummers on the scene today. All right, before we wrap things up, I want to remind everybody the Bassists Against Racists May design is still up. You have, 9 or 10 days left to actually order that. It is a pre-order. This month for May is featuring Cone McCaslin of Sum 41, who coincidentally, and one has nothing to do with the other, Sum 41 has announced that they are disbanding after a final tour and album. So make sure you pick up the most recent design. You got 9 or 10 days left to pre-order that. And if you're and this is, of course, the brainchild of Lynn Lee, bassist for Bad Cop, Bad Cop. All of the art is done by the uber-talented Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing. And if you are pre-ordering a Bassists Against Racist design t-shirt in the United States, you're going to pick that up from Chaos Merch, Chaos with a K. That is Gabby doing some great work with Chaos Merch. Always great stuff coming out of there. And if you're in Europe, I can't speak too much to the quality because I'm in the United States, but I know great things. But if you're in Europe, you're going to pre-order that through T-Mom Merch, T-M-O-M Merch. Just make sure you look up both of those on the internet, and you're going to see that beautiful pre-order of the newest design right there on each of their respective websites. And like I said, you have till the end of May to pre-order that one before it is completely gone forever. All right, before we close it out, I want to say looking forward to seeing many of you, hopefully, out in Las Vegas next weekend. I've had multiple text and message threads going on. I know it's funny, it was brought up with with a couple of my friends yesterday or the day before because we were texting, and one of the important things was like, let's make sure we have enough water, Gatorade, and liquid IV so that we can survive the gauntlet that is punk rock bowling. That's how you know you're getting a little old. You're not as worried about the beer and the drinks as you are worried about the hydration situation. But I'm hoping, especially for those of you I haven't met that might be listeners, find me out at Punk Rock Bowling. I will be out at many of the club shows. I will be hanging out at the Punk Rock Saves Lives shows there at Hogs and Heifers. It's right across from the hotel that I'll be staying at, so I'll be spending a lot of time there, not only because they're going to have some great performances, but because I love Punk Rock Saves Lives. And I'll be at the pool party on Saturday on the roof of the downtown Grand. I believe that's at 11 a.m., so if you're going to be running around there, look for me. For those of you on the video, we got some new stickers. It's not a new design, but look how cute these are if you're on the video. They're smaller versions of our other die-cut Go Tell It to the Wall logo. I stocked up on stickers, got some extra pins, so if you see me at Punk Rock Bowling next weekend, make sure you flag me down. I'll throw you some stickers, say what's up, introduce yourself, especially because I know I have friends that I haven't met in person that I've become friends with on social media who I'm finally going to meet for the first time because so many people come into Las Vegas for Punk Rock Bowling on a yearly basis. All right. Before we get going, make sure you're following us on all the social platforms, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall, also youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall, or at GoTellItToTheWall on YouTube. My own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean, and of course, SeanO'RourkeLive.com, where you'll find links to all those things, other exclusive content, and a link to our Patreon campaign, as well as a link to our merch website if you want to support us financially. As I said at the top of the episode, there will be no episode next weekend. There should be one the following weekend, depending on scheduling and everything else. I'll keep everyone updated via the Facebook page, but there will not be one next weekend, so this serves as the last episode in the month of May for 2023. So we won't be back next week, same old place, same old time, but we will be hopefully in 2 weeks. And this has been episode 106 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And remember, Wall fans, Common Sensers, podcast consumers, until next time, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and especially no matter why you are doing it, always, always use common sense.